Hello, I'm Skye Alexander, and this is Skye Teaches Wizardry, a long-play video guide to Wizardry, proving grounds of the Mad Overlord. Now, I am really feeling the spirit of the Scottish part of my ancestry lately. Whew. Taking my life back, and I have decided to share a little bit of this extra energy with a game that people are having a bit of a problem with. Understandably so. It's a very, very difficult game, and I'm going to help with that. This is, of course, the remaster. Lovely, lovely game. And we are going to be playing with the new modern options. Well, all but one of them anyway. We are going to set starting attribute points to random roll, because we want to have some good characters at the start, but the rest of these we're going to leave. Not going to go over them all. Basically, there are two parts of the challenge to Wizardry. One part is the actual challenge, fighting the monsters, finding your way through the maze, killing Wordna, whatever. The other is the time sink, and that's a result of how games were made back then. In that, you know, it took a while to make a game, they were short, you couldn't put a lot in them. And so you had to make concessions, and so you have all this other stuff. Although, it wouldn't make for a very good guide to go through all those hundreds of hours. So, here's the thing. If you want the hardcore experience, just follow this guide and add hundreds of hours of re-rolling characters and getting killed to it. The strategies will remain the same, and actually, these strategies might actually help you survive. Just, you won't have access to all of it. Now, we're going to start creating characters of our own. We're not going to use that starting party. It starts at level 2, and I'm going to at least give the full experience, and that does mean the entirety of this game. I am going to dissect it and expose all of its secrets. I've scoured the internet and found a lot of interesting information about how this game works. And it's scattered all about. It's very hard to find. But I found it all, and I am going to share it with all of you. And so we start with character creation. Now, normally you get a roll of 7 to 10 points. You have a 1 in 11 chance of getting 10 more points on top of that. If you then have a 17, 18, or 19, you have a 1 in 11 chance of adding yet another 10 points. So, we are aiming for 27, 28, or 29. It only takes a little bit of patience. It's not very painful, especially compared to the rest of the game. Especially if you don't get this for at least a couple of characters. We are going to be making a samurai, and that requires it, but we are going to get it for a few other characters as well. Going to make an all-human team here. And part of that is the saving throw system in this game. Now, originally, according to my data, there were 5 types of saving throws. Now, the 3 I'm going to talk about first are the ones that I'm able to confirm are in the game and are visible in the game, which is Death, Breath, and Spill. Death is translated into Resilience. Breath is possibly mistranslated into Resolve. I don't know if it's a typo or if the data's switched. I have filed a bug report. Any D&D player knows you roll Reflex against Breath and Will against spells, but Spell has been translated into Reflex. Now, I'm going to be going with it as it stands, so you keep the bug in mind for yourself. It wouldn't make too big of a deal anyway. And that brings us to the races. Oh, good, we got 28 points. So you have Human, Elf, Dwarf, Gnome, and Halfling. Now, this is where the saving throws come into play. Human has a plus 5% chance or plus 5% to resilience, and that protects against poison, paralysis, and auto kill. These 2 of those are the 3 most, or 2 of those are the 2 of the most annoying things in the game. See, I get turned about just thinking about paralysis and auto kill. So I really like having that extra 5% chance. Dwarves have 20% to resolve, which makes dwarves good casters, especially your priests, because priests kind of get gypped in the saving throw department just a little bit. Hobbits get 15% to reflex. which is spell, and that covers Montino, mage traps, priest traps, and those sort of things. Oh, and the breath one covers the gas traps. Now, gnomes have a 10% to petrify. I don't know if this is in the game, it's not listed, but it did work in the original. And the last is the elves plus 10% to wand, which was useless in the original, and I don't know if they have done anything with it in this remake or remaster. They have apparently used the original Apple II data, and so that is what I have found. And we're going to create our samurai. They have a nice little thing here to show us what we need. And for the stats, this is where it gets interesting. Now, you get penalties below 6. I won't cover that. You shouldn't throw those characters away. No point to them. Strength, you get plus 5% to hit and plus 1 to damage for every point above 15. For intellect and piety, those are for learning spells. It's your intellect or piety over 30 is your percentage chance to learn a mage or a priest spell respectively. Vitality, oh, a lot of people like to bump this up at level 1. Resist the temptation. Yes, it helps you get revived by DNK Dorto, vitality times 4%. That doesn't matter at first, and it lowers your vitality by 1. You should avoid it if you can. And then, it does affect your chances of being raised at the Temple of Cant. 50 plus vitality times 3%. Normally, 40 times vitality, or plus vitality times 3% for ashes. Now, level 1 resurrection is free, and even with 14 vitality, that's still pretty good res chances. Don't do it. Resist the temptation, it's not as useful. Agility, however, is. Now, 8 to 14, you actually get a bonus of -1. Yes, minus is better. And then that bonus gets better by 1 down to -5 at 18. So agility is probably one of the most important stats. Now, luck is interesting. You get plus 5% to all saving throws per 6 points. So we're going to bump this up to 12 right off the bat. Actually, you know what? We're not really going to be using saving throws right off the bat. So instead, we do want to bump strength up to 18 so we can murder stuff. We'll get vitality up to 15 just so we're close to bonuses, and agility to 11 so we can go a little bit faster. Luck can come a little bit later. We don't really need that until we get to floor 2. And now we have our samurai. Going with the good party. And we have the master. Here we go. Hit points 14. We topped it off. Nice. Now then, second character. We are going to go for the high points again. And for good reason. You see, I thought about it. What sort of party I'm going to take. Now, everybody does the fighter, priest, thief, mage. Or samurai, priest, thief, mage, or whatever. Or if you play certain versions, you can start with a ninja, whatever. I am going to go a little bit more interesting, because I also want to do interesting class changing, and I am exploring the entirety of this dungeon. Yes, all 10 levels. It's actually quite fun. And yes, of course, floors 2, 3, and 5 through 8 are completely useless. You don't need to visit them. 1, 4, 9, and 10 are all you need to do. The rest of the game is just there to acquire treasure and troll you. Especially since if you can get to level 9, you can fight on floor 9, and it's pretty easy. So, I am going samurai, priest, thief, mage. And these priests are going to then turn into samurai. And because priests are kind of gypped on saving throws, we do want to have a lot of points for them. Just be patient, and it will come to you. And don't rush, or you will zip right past it. I cannot tell you how many times I did that. Anyway, back to explaining some of this stuff. The classes have saving throw bonuses of their own, too. Now, fighters get 15% resilience, which is nice. Mages get 15% reflex, which hopefully Reflex does the power of versus spell and not data, because that's the ability to resist Montino. Actually, I might be able to test this if I'm observant. We'll see. Priests get 15% to petrify. Again, not sure if that's in the game. And petrify only is from attacks. The petrification breath counts as a breath weapon with a petrification damage factor. It doesn't actually petrify you, not that I've ever seen. Same with the level draining breath weapon. I've never seen it actually drain levels. Well, wait, that's not entirely true. In the NES version, it did. I think it was like 3 levels each. 3 or 4? I don't know. Oh, and if you want to get the RNG string to reset, just go out and back in again. Usually you'll get some different, and there we go, see? Just like that. Now for a priest, you want to put the piety up to maximum, because you always want to learn those spells. And you want to have the best chances. Now from there, since this is a frontline fighter, now again, their saving throws are kind of gypped, but yeah, you got to let it go for the moment. It doesn't apply yet. Now, since we're aiming for Samurai, it behooves us to try to get these stats closer in line with that. So we're going to put Strength and Vitality 3 away from what's necessary. Now we do want some Agility. We'll go ahead and get that done. And now we have that. 6 points. We can put 3 into Strength, 3 into Vitality. Although, now with the priest in the front row, me doing double priest, I think I am going to do this. Just because, like, you don't need the Vitality jacked up at first. But by level 3, you kind of do. And since I'm doing double priest, there is that to take into consideration. And this will be my representation. Oh, we got a decent hit point roll of 8. And now for our third, also going to be a priest. Now then, thieves get a 15% bonus to breath. That's resolve. Hopefully that still works like that. Although, admittedly, even if they're flipped, mages having good save versus breath would actually be a good thing. And actually preferable now that I think about it. But it would be a bug. And I am being very careful of that. There are a few in this patch, so be very cautious if you're playing this patch. Bishops, they get kind of boned a little bit. 10% bonus to Petrify, Wand, and Reflex. And of course, Wand isn't in the game. Don't know if it got replaced. And Petrify, question marks. Then we have Samurai, which is 10% on Resilience and Reflex. And that's where I'm thinking, well, don't really care about that Reflex save. That's Montino in the traps. It's whatever. Now, Lords, that's one of the elite classes you cannot start as. They get a 10% to Resilience and Petrify. Oh, by the way, the other reason a Petrify save, even if it is in the game, is still pretty useless, is because there are literally only, I think, 3 enemies in the game that actually have that attack. One is... oh, let me see if I can remember. I think it's Gorgon... Flacca Medusa Lizard. But it might be Malefic. Also, I think Wordna does everything in the game. So there is that. We're gonna reset that string. Now, ninjas, of course, they are... they're the top. But we're not gonna be playing with them, because that would require the Thieves' Dagger. And that is a supremely rare drop. Did I mention I've got bad RNG relationships? Whew, took me 250 hours to get my platinum on Final Fantasy 13. That was not fun. And yes, I could kill those turtles very fast. the drop rate was about 1/10 of what the strategy guide claimed it was, for me anyway. But ninjas get 15% bonus to resilience and resolve, plus 10% on petrify and reflex, and 20% on save versus wand. Because it's still got to have the best of that. Because why not? And so that's all on saving throws. Hopefully we'll get our good roll here in a second. But the game can be kind of obstinate sometimes, so you got to just be patient. It's way better than the alternative, which is getting killed over and over and over again. And we're going to be playing fair. The only time I would save scum is if it's like permanent character loss. Because again, that's one of the time sinks. And I'm kind of hoping they'll just put that in as a modern option at some point. Like, I don't mind turning to Ash, but then that one failing and losing the character permanently is just, well, now I just gotta remake a character and level them up again. That doesn't make the game harder, it just makes it longer. And that's what I mean by a time sink. So, and also, oh, there's a chance, a little bit of a chance I might save scum level ups. We are doing point by level ups instead of the random stuff. At least for our initial class setup. More on that later. Because we're going to have some fun with class changing. Now let's see, any other mechanics to go over right now? Well, good characters can't travel with evil characters unless you leave them in the maze and pick them up. There you go. And there's some class restrictions, of course. There we go. Put the piety to maximum. Do this. Agility up. Well, yeah. No, hang on. Well, here we might want to take a different approach. Just slightly. We'll go with... yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah, we got one less point than that, but that's fine. Here's our second priest. Venda. Let's see here. Oh, not so good of a roll there. It's fine. Now next we're going to create our thief. Don't have to be too picky here, we just want 20 points. Although we are going to specify 20. Because thief really only needs one thing, well, two things, agility and luck. Because the way thievery works, and interestingly enough, people who think that ninjas are not as good as thieves are sort of incorrect. Only when inspecting for traps. Thief is agility times 6%, ninja's agility times 4%, both kept at 95%. So, with a ninja you want to calfo because it works 95% of the time, always. But then the chance to disarm a trap is the same for both, which is 50 plus character level minus maze level divided by 70. And so there you go. You do this, you do this, and then for this version put it into intelligence for inspecting enemies, because we're going to complete the bestiary as well, including getting all that juicy information. And it won't be too tricky. There's lots of enemies in this game. So, neutral thief, Miana, who hopefully will not blow us up. Okay, not a bad hit point roll. Doesn't matter, she'll be in the back. So our next character we will want a high roll again for. And that's going to be our first mage, because she's going to become a lord. Now the reason for these switches is to have the three frontliners be fighters with both sets of magic. Now you might be wondering about the master. Well, once I have these new frontliners, the master is going to go priest, mage, bishop, or mage, priest, bishop. I haven't decided yet. Really depends. Probably Mage, Priest, Bishop. It'll be easier that way. Oh no, we need the higher roll. And it might take a moment, and it's okay. Now then, we'll reset that RNG string here. And for the last main party member, we're not going to worry about it, just a mage that's going to turn into a priest and then a bishop. Now I have two bishops when the main point of the bishop is identification. The same reason you do mage and priest first, which is you get lots of magic points. Yep. And if you, want to beat this game fairly, you need all the help you can get, because it is a very difficult game. And yeah, like I said, I have a bit of a bad history with RNG. That's why I haven't even decided yet whether I'll end up doing videos trying to acquire the rare items. Maybe like post-game. I've got a few ideas. I had made a previous attempt, but things went a little bit wrong. And then things went a little bit buggy. But I will not be deterred. This game shall be demystified. Just as soon as we get what we need here. And yeah, don't be afraid to reset the RNG strings. And yes, it does work. I can't tell you how many times I've managed to get it to work. It doesn't always work. But that's RNG for you, isn't it? Any more game mechanics to go over? Basic game mechanics. Well, no? Doesn't seem like it. Yeah, I got all this information, and I'm going to enjoy revealing it all. But it's not all appropriate for character creation, you see. Alright, come on, high 20s. Mama needs a lord. A mage lord. And we'll get there. And this game is all about the patience. And there we go, see? Just like that. Now the requirements for lord are not on here. It's 15, 12, 12, 15, 14, 15. But first, we do want to select the maximum, and then we want to put these stats as inline as we can for the most part. Although we will bump lock up first to 12 for that extra saving throw. Now, we do this because piety is 3 below strength, and vitality is the same as strength, and agility 1 below it. So we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, we're not going to obsess too much over piety just yet. We do want agility and vitality to spare. So, from here, we are going to bump up agility. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah, that looks good. And we're going to put the other 2 points into these stuff. Actually, wait a minute. Yeah, that looks better. Almost made us silly. And now we have Salon. Booyah. Oh, 2 hit points. Wow. Game was not kind. Anyway, for our last main party member, we only need the 20. Painless. Intellect to 20. Luck to 12. Agility to 15, and we're good. That said, we do have one more character to make. Woo! 2 hit point mages. Wow. And that is a bishop to identify things with. And we are going to go for a high score here because in the original data, there is a chance to fail identification and a chance to accidentally equip things when you identify them. This can go very badly because of a certain deadly ring that we'll go over later. Now, I have not had any failures yet, but I have also only had bishops with 18 intellect and piety. So I'm not taking any chances. Woo, here we go. And we will have our bishop, the doctor, to identify stuff for us. And there we go, we've got our sorting party. And now we can visit the tavern to collect everyone. We're gonna put them in a well, no. We're gonna go in this order for now. And then we're gonna immediately head to the trading post because we can improve this just a tad. Now since Venda here has lower hit points, we're gonna go ahead and get him a breastplate. Good purchase, equip it, and immediately sell the chainmail. And if we had 5 more gold pieces, and I could totally cheese some out, but, well, I mean, no reason not to, after all. So, I suppose, Jillian will give up her staff for now. And that gives us enough gold to buy a helm for the master. And that gives us our best survival chances. And yes, I could have created a whole bunch of characters and bought out the store. Not gonna do that. I'm gonna try to play as legitimately and, like, normally as possible. Except when we get to the end. More on that when we get there. Long way away. Anyway, with that, all of our preparations are complete and we are ready to enter the maze. But that is for another video. I'm going to try to make sure each of these videos is very consistently done and very methodical in how I present it. And I've got a nice little master plan to go by. And I hope you all learn a lot during this journey. Anyway, until next time, enjoy yourself some wizardry. Have a good one. What? Oh, good. Calfo, because it works 95% of the time. Always.